We'll try and find out how this might work with Riccardo next. Riccardo Marini is an architect with a special interest in the urban environment. Riccardo, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Morning. That point there that we were just hearing there from Andy about how practical it really is, it's fine in theory from a planning point of view, pedestrianisation, but when you've got painters, when you've got plumbers, when you've got electricians, joiners, who need to get in there to service the shops, service the flats, the people that live above, how does it work?
It's I don't know. Just listening to those two people who are genuine and believe in what they're saying, right? Number one, why are people thinking about doing this? There is a global issue which, Donald Trump doesn't believe in it. There is no jobs in a dead planet. And that's going to take a bit of time. But if we don't start doing things now, we're not going to be around to actually witness that, because I burnt it all. Now, that's UK, Scotland subscribe to the Paris Agreement, so they have to do reductions in carbon emission, full stop. It's something that the government needs to do. Glasgow and Edinburgh, cities that I have worked for, are trying their best. I actually don't think they're doing enough. Now, I have an issue with full pedestrianisation. Full pedestrianisation sterilises places. It's not a good thing. Pedestrian priority is what we should be looking at.
Right, what's the difference? Tell us how that works.
Well, it's quite simple. If people live in a place, you have to allow them to drop off grandma or bring the shopping. But that doesn't mean that they have an entitlement to have a car parked 24 hours in front of their house.
Right, so if Andy... Sorry to interrupt you, but if Andy wanted to come along, just trying to answer his point, Riccardo, if he came along with his van because he's got to go and fix a washing machine, that would be okay?
Yeah, but there are different ways of doing it. Milan and other cities are talking to, let's say, all the delivery vans and saying within the core of the city centre you will do this by cargo bikes. There are electric cargo bikes. If you go back 30 years ago, most tradesmen didn't have a light van to drive around with. Lugging your tools around is one thing. We used to do all of this stuff. Our cities were not designed for cars. Cars have totally been allowed to dominate everything that we do. The lady from Riccardo, great. Listen, I can tell you for a fact, in terms of my professional life experience, in Copenhagen in the 60s, they pedestrianised Stroget. Right? The first phase of pedestrianisation, none of the traders were interested. They all objected to it. The city paid for it. The second phase, all of the traders paid for it because their footfall went up, their money take went up. In 2012, I did a job in London, in Regent Street for the Crown Estates, where we're taking traffic out to monitor the situation, to test it, to prove to the Traders Association and the bid company that this worked. Every time we took traffic out, footfall went up and takings went up. Cars do not spend money. It's people on pavements that can actually see your candles that spend money.
But people...
If you're in a car going at 30 miles an hour, you do not see the candles.
But people need to get to these shopping areas to be able to spend the money. And if the parking facilities aren't there, what do? We all have to take public transport. That's the answer.
No, because there has to be choice. Copenhagen, I'm sorry to bash on about this, did something very simple. Every year they put the car parking charges up. That reduced car parking take-up by 10%. They spent that money improving cycle, park, and other public transport routes. Now, in the centre of Copenhagen, 60% of all movements are by cycle, winter and summer. But the shops are doing really, really quite well there.
This is huge investment, Riccardo, isn't it? Because, from my memory in Copenhagen, a lot of the parking is underground, these huge kind of underground car parks that the city council have built. Now, that's an enormous investment to get to that stage. Have we got the willingness to do that here, do you think?
Well, it's not a question of having the willingness. If you want your children to be alive and have healthy lives, you're going to have to make those choices, not purely in terms of air quality. If we all sit in cars stuck in traffic jams, guess what? We get fat, unfit and we die. The biggest killer in the world is inactivity. We have populations with obesity issues. And then we're thinking, I can't walk. And, doors open automatically. Stairs move automatically. We're designed to be active. Now, the West End, where I actually live, in Glasgow, when I'm there, is a walkable neighbourhood. And all of the students Most of them, I like to think, get there by other means than by driving. And it's about... I've done projects in New York where we've taken cars out of the equation. The air's got better, people are more active, the city's doing really quite well. Footfall in kind of economic impacts got better in Times Square. This is in 2004 to 2008 when there was the big crash. There are lots of examples where people are making really tough choices about taking cars out. You need to communicate this, you need to engage with people, you need to make sure that people understand why you're doing it. And it's about a change in attitude. If you think you can, go to McDonald's or go to drive-through cinema and all of that, then fine. I quite like living in a world where I breathe fresh air. I'm doing a project in Delhi. The air quality there is absolutely atrocious. You can actually feel the particulates as you walk through. And, they are having a really big difficulty in getting the population to understand it's choices that you make. People need to want to do this. It was quite fascinating when there was the climate strikes. There was lots of people in George Square protesting, with Greta. What does that actually mean? That means you have to change what you're doing. And being active is good for you. Yeah, the cycle infrastructure is pitiful in the UK. It's actually dangerous to cycle. So the first thing is not doing that. The other thing that I think people need to learn, politicians need to learn, this is not a magic wand thing. You can't go into George Square and just magic wand it away. You can do things by temporarily taking traffic out, examining the impacts, involving people, get people to understand, especially traders. It's critically important to get traders on side to show them that if you actually take traffic out in a measured way and understanding the impacts, that their businesses will do better. Right. And then they will hopefully invest in these decisions.
Riccardo, you've given us a lot to think about there. I'm going to come back to you later, so hang around. I want to talk to you more about this a little later on. But what do you think about what you've heard there? 80295 to get in touch with us, or 08085 92 95 00.